The following program is the work of the broadcast students of the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT Magazine, a spike in auto theft causes concern with Abbotsford residents.
Pitt Meadows Council has developed a plan to ease traffic in the city.
And teens share their experiences with mental illness at the top of Grouse Mountain.
Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Rana, Sowdaey.
And I'm Emily Murray. A spike in auto-related thefts in Abbotsford has residents thinking twice before leaving their cars unattended. Mitchell Flann has the story.
This is my new bike.
To any young gearhead, this collection of cars is something to be admired, but to Brady Lawler, it's a little incomplete after his motorcycle was recently stolen.
Sums it up really well, as every time I see a bike on the road, I had some jealousy, envy that they're riding their bike and mine was stolen, and then there's a part of me that every time I saw a bike similar color, I'd be questioning whether it was mine.
Lawler is among many in the city who are taking extra care of their vehicles, as Abbotsford has seen a spike in thefts from vehicles, as well as thefts of the vehicles themselves from January 1st to the 20th in comparison to years prior.
This year it's been the worst so far. What we're finding is a lot of the vehicles targeted are unlocked and insecure.
The Abbotsford police are warning people that these break-ins are crimes of opportunity. If these thieves are able to gain entrance, they'll steal phones, other electronics, small wires, and in some cases, they'll even settle for small change.
This is my pride and joy.
Much like Lawler, many Abbotsford citizens are hesitant to leave their vehicles out overnight.
During the day is totally fine. At night, I wouldn't feel as comfortable.
We can park in underground parking. We have the option of parking above ground, but we would never leave our car up above ground.
One time I saw like 6 kids like ransack through a car, and then after, they just started grabbing like shades and change and everything.
Lawler is part of a growing number of people in the city who are vulnerable until the streets of Abbotsford see some serious change. And until that time comes, Lawler and motor enthusiasts like him will be keeping their prized possessions locked away extra safely. Mitchell Flann in Abbotsford for BCIT Magazine.
Mitchell Flann joins us now from Abbotsford. Mitchell, are the police giving any reason for the spike in auto thefts?
Yes, well, the Abbotsford police have informed me that they've decided to focus more on precautionary measures rather than reactionary to stop these kinds of crimes from happening again.
And what is the city doing about it now?
Yes, well, one of the main methods of prevention that the Abbotsford police have adopted is a partnership with ICBC called Lockout Auto Crime, where they have community police officers patrol areas that are frequent to experience auto crime, like parkades. And they give out these ticket-like notices that list all the ways that the unattended car can be made safer and less vulnerable to auto crime.
Thank you, Mitchell. The City of Pitt Meadows has put forward a proposal for the construction of an underpass, one that's been on the minds of residents for decades. Colton Davies has more.
Trains rolling through the middle of town is nothing new in Pitt Meadows. It's why the city has recently drawn up proposals for an underpass here at the Harris Road crossing, something the city has been waiting for a long time. Some major improvement points the city of Pitt Meadows is hoping for with the proposed underpass includes reducing trip lengths, reducing emergency response times, and improving traffic flow. When vehicles are forced to wait at the crossing at Harris Road here, they can wait up to 11 minutes depending on the length of the train. Pitt Meadows Mayor John Becker says the project would cost at least $30 million, and it's not yet certain who would pay for it.
There is no appetite, I can assure you, on the part of our council to pay for this. The citizens of Pitt Meadows are not going to shoulder anywhere near the bulk of any such an infrastructure improvement.
And residents seemed ready to see some sort of development.
This nightmare of 2 and 3 trains all hooked together, going through sometimes up to 20 minutes, not acceptable.
We've lived here for over 40 years, and so we've seen it all, and I still think that an underpass or an overpass, whichever they can do on this spot, is the most logical.
However, the many nearby communities and local businesses would be impacted by the work. The city's 2 heritage buildings would need to be relocated, and CP would plan to expand from 2 tracks to 4.
I've heard from quite a few people, they don't want us to proceed. Because at the end of the day, they can see the drawings, even outside of the cost. They just don't feel that that kind of disruption to the city is warranted.
So it seems the plans for a new underpass might not be full steam ahead just yet. Colton Davies in Pitt Meadows for BCIT Magazine.
For the 4th year in a row, North Vancouver High School students have met on the top of Grouse Mountain to talk about mental illness. One of these teens is using her experiences to help others. Tara Harvey reports.
I needed my own space at that point.
Stories are being shared at the top of Grouse Mountain. For some, they're difficult stories to tell, but teens like Lily Diamond are encouraging others to speak up at Talk at the Top.
It's a big youth summit, and we're all talking about how to remove the stigma of mental illness.
Diamond has dealt with mental illness from the time she was 9 years old.
The biggest thing that really made a difference in my life was actually just getting diagnosed, because then I went from, there was a lot of stigma in my life, not so much in my family, but maybe in my further family and family friends, stuff like that, especially at school.
According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, in Canada, only 1 in 5 children who need mental health services receives them. And at Talk at the Top, they're hoping by starting conversations, they'll begin to change that. Experts say anxiety disorders are on the rise in teenagers. Some believe that stems from the constant connection to their phones and social media.
Kids are having anxiety when they leave their cell phones at home for the day. So really taking a look at the way that while we become more connected in a wireless sort of idea, we're not more connected on a person-to-person idea.
Talk at the Top focused on putting those phones away and engaging through activities. For those who may be dealing with a mental illness, Diamond says it's important to remember the support system around you.
I felt worthless, and I looked around and I said, well, my parents are supporting me, and all these doctors are supporting me, so there's got to be something, I've got to have something special and a reason to stay.
Tara Harvey on Grouse Mountain for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, a local MP takes a petition to the House of Commons.
And an endangered green sea turtle is rescued from BC waters.
A defining moment for me was when I finished my first internship and got lots of really great feedback from industry professionals.
I would have never imagined I'd be walking into the floors of TSN and thinking, I'm not a student anymore, I'm here to work.
I will be starting a job with an investigative news program in Toronto, and I'm really excited to see that grow into what will become, hopefully, my dream job.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, putting you to work.
I chose BCIT because I know that all the programs are very hands-on. We have our own radio station, it's one of the best programs that I've ever heard of.
I am starting a job on Monday, so confidence is high.
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this fun.
A Vancouver MP is hoping to present a petition to ban the fur imports of some unexpected animals. My co-anchor Rana Sowdaey has the story.
This was very similar to the products that the HSUS that did the investigation found.
You can see the pellets clearly in the jacket. It's cat fur, one of the cat and dog products the Association for the Protection of Fur Bearers have collected. The group has been pushing for the ban on cat and dog fur products in Canada since a 2012 investigation in China, Thailand, and the Philippines by the Humane Society of the United States. The report showed 2 million dogs and cats killed for cheap fur exports per year.
But when that investigation came out, the United States, Australia, the entire EU, Switzerland, they all banned the import and sale of dog and cat fur. And Canada's kind of dragged its heels on this and refuses to put a ban in place.
The group is now partnering with local MP Don Davies and have received nearly 6,000 signatures in less than a week.
I'm also calling on the government to make sure that all such products are labeled accurately so that consumers know what they're buying.
Being that we're one of the only countries that still allows cat and dog fur to come in, you know, it's hard to say that it's not here.
This piece from Winners is an example of unclear labeling.
This tag here, which was the original tag, says fur trim acrylic polyester, which leads the people to believe that this is fake fur, when in fact it's real fur. Now somebody's gone and put in another tag that says fur trim dye rabbit.
Davies shares his opinion on how it is exactly that Canada hasn't implemented this ban.
We've had a conservative government for the last 10 years, and they, frankly, didn't view this as a priority or weren't in agreement with it.
Davies says it's unclear how often this is happening, but that there's no question it's being sold. Rana, Sowdaey in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
A second tropical species has been found off the coast of Vancouver Island. Our reporter Tara Harvey has more on what this could mean for our ecosystem.
This green sea turtle is recovering from a chilly trek that led him to Vancouver Island's coast.
He's cold stunned and much below what a normal body temperature would be for a sea turtle.
That's because the endangered turtle is used to the much warmer waters off of Hawaii or Mexico.
He's about 17 degrees right now. He came in at 11.2, and we hope for him to be eventually around 20 to 25 degrees.
The turtle is the second tropical species to end up in BC waters in recent weeks. A Guadalupe fur seal native to California and Mexico was rescued from the same beach on Vancouver Island last week.
A possible cause would be El Nino. Whenever there tends to be kind of a different warm weather event that would cause warmer waters and currents to change, sometimes species that don't belong here, like a Guadalupe fur seal or a green sea turtle, end up in colder places like BC.
Experts say this El Nino could have a profound effect on the BC coast. The warm waters bring a host of different species that we don't typically see, from the smallest plankton to bigger fish. That can lead to an effect on food supply for fish native to BC.
So it's not just the food available for the fish, there can also be predation impacts. Species such as mackerel and the Humboldt squid, which can make an appearance when you have warmer water coming up from the south. That these species are quite serious predators of juvenile salmon, and so you can potentially have an increased mortality due to predation from these unusual warm water species.
For now, the turtle's care team at the aquarium says their goal is to get him back home.
That will all depend on his health status and if we can determine via DNA or other ways where he came from.
Tara Harvey in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We are nearly 2/3 of the way into the NHL regular season. BCIT Magazine's Colton Davies is joined by veteran sportscaster Perry Solkowski for his take on the Vancouver Canucks.
Thanks, Emily. So, Perry, we're at officially the NHL All-Star break. The Canucks are 50 games into the season after a 2-1 home loss Tuesday night against Nashville Predators, and outside looking in from a playoff spot, like all the Canadian teams, but 11th in the conference at this point. I want to know, do you see them coming back, finding themselves in the playoffs?
Well, Colton, they're, as you said, they're looking at a playoff spot. And I think right now as they go into the break, the All-Star break, the fact that they're looking and they're close, and depending on how weeks go, sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. I think as a whole, this organization is going to go, that's a positive, because they really have been decimated by injuries. They get Sutter back to do that. So right now, the Vancouver Canucks, I think, have won the fans of the city over. They've been able to play some young guys, and they're around it because we're so used to the success of it the last 10 years. I think it's an adjustment for everybody. And the organization, has had a good run with what they've been able to do to this point.
Yeah, and so, the whole city was pretty upset. We can go back a couple years with John Tortorella behind the bench, the year the Canucks missed the playoffs then. So if they miss it this year, is it really that much of a bad thing?
No, I think they have the Band-Aid in the sense that they fixed some problems. They fixed a little bit of the public persona that they had, not only on the ice, but sometimes in the business community. give Trevor Linden an awful lot of credit for that. He continues to be everywhere in this community, selling the brand, selling himself, and he's let Jim Benning do the right things. Now, Jim Benning and any GM in the NHL is going to be questioned as to some of his moves. I think mostly what he has done has been positive. They've got a little bit of a safety net, I think, for the next year or two. But the fans needed to see something, and they've seen that in Bo Horvat. They've seen it in the fact that they keep Vertanen, they keep young guys around. They've seen it in Markstrom playing a lot of hockey. So I think there is a little bit of goodwill, and they haven't had that for a long time here, that they can make some mistakes and still be okay.
Yeah, especially with having the Sedins as the backbone still at the top of the organization for these young guys to really move in. And talking about Jim Benning briefly here, you say he's made a lot of good moves. He's made a lot of bold moves the Canucks have this year, and we're pretty close to the trade deadline. It's getting closer and closer. So do you see the Canucks moving any pending restricted free agents? Guys like Verbata, Ham, Hughes, Prost, or even Weber come to mind.
Yeah, I think Verbata will be in play because he does have that ability to come onto a team for a couple months and be a difference maker. I don't know if he's a guy who is a builder right now. I think this team has been very fortunate and understood what they had in the Sedins, as age just doesn't seem to matter. I mean, Henrik gets hurt, but they've played so well and they're such character people. So, yeah, I think Jim Benning will probably be busy. Is it going to be a move that pushes the Canucks over the edge? I don't think he's looking for that. I think he's looking for a move that goes, hey, this will fit better for us in the next year or two. So it's been an interesting transition. It's fun for this city to watch. I think they've done a good job with it.
Well said, an organization in a good spot for sure, and that's Perry Slokowski. Thanks for being with me today, and back to you guys.
Thanks, Colton. And now to the NFL. The 50th Super Bowl matchup is all set. The Denver Broncos will face the Carolina Panthers on February 7th at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, a Vancouver couple goes on an interactive adventure in the city.
And how a local man turned his hobby into a world record.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news.
Today on BCIT Magazine, striking.
Make magic on a movie set.
Frame.
And action. Or bring your creative ideas to life. BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
The most rewarding thing for me has been the relationships I developed in the program, both with instructors and classmates.
My sense of confidence has never been higher. I mean, this program's offered great opportunities to be in real world, real industry situations, and being in those moments and knowing I can contribute, I can do this.
It's exciting to be in this industry and to meet lots of great people and to make amazing friends.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, realizing your potential.
Here's a look at this week's community calendar.
Test your skills at Grouse Mountain's Snowshoe Grind. The 5-kilometer trail is open to snowshoers of all levels, with a 1-kilometer trail for kids. Registration is $35.
Catch the NFL's biggest event of the year on the big screen. The Rio Theater will be showing the Super Bowl and offering drinks and grilled cheese sandwiches. Admission is free.
Spend Family Day with the Vancouver Giants. Enjoy a day of hockey, games, and prizes. The Giants will take on the Edmonton Oil Kings at 2 p.m. and then will come back on the ice to skate and meet with fans.
And that's this week's community calendar.
Thanks to the generosity of his supporters, one man has started a barbershop that doubles as a safe space for transgendered people. Mitchell Flan has the story.
Hello, Big Bros Barbershop. We are actually all booked up for today.
Being booked solid is now common for Jesse Anderson, as he's been building his clientele since September. Quality cuts is one reason people may visit, but the real attraction is the environment he sets for his customers.
My main goal in opening Big Rose Barbershop is to create at least one space in the city that is absolutely 100% guaranteed to be a safe space for trans people. And I also have gender affirmation products for people that are very hard to find otherwise, that are specifically retailed for trans people. And I've got a ton of different resources and pamphlets to just create a brick and mortar space and a hub for trans existence.
This business is tucked away on the upper level of this building, hidden in the industrial part of town. So this tiny sign really isn't doing much. The reason why this business is successful is due to their online presence.
My goal for the GoFundMe campaign was originally set at $30,000. I later lowered it to $15,000 just to make it a little bit more attainable. And I was able to raise $10,000.
Transgender activist Morgan Ogre stopped by to see how Anderson is giving back to the community that paid to get him started.
Knowing that you can come somewhere and do a little bit of shopping and get a good haircut if you're a trans guy, a nice barber haircut, is something that feels good.
Customers aren't the only ones leaving with a good feeling. Anderson uses his entrepreneurial skills to make some money, all while helping people brush up on their transgender knowledge. Mitchell Flan in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
For the past 6 years, BCIT has offered free cooking classes to inspire students to expand their diet beyond ramen noodles and pizza. My co-anchor Emily Murray has more.
Yeah, and they can be coarsely chopped. That's perfect.
BCIT may not have a culinary program, but it does have Crash Course Cooking, a free cooking class the Student Association holds for aspiring Gordon Ramsays and Rachel Rays. Students of all skill levels come together to grate, chop, and squeeze their way to a delicious meal. Rookie chef Vanessa Bui stopped by the class to exercise her culinary muscles.
The idea is that it's okay to not know what you're doing, and there's also a lot of people who don't know what they're doing either, and you also get to come home with actual food and also ideas and a little bit of experience to practice. So I think that's what it's really about, is practicing.
Learning how to make tasty food is not the only element of the class. Instructor Elena Hack says mingling and using healthy ingredients are also priorities.
They're going to eat anyway, so why not build community and chat with people and make delicious food, healthy food too at the same time, right? So you're going to do it anyways, you might as well do it in the setting.
Having a nutritious diet can be hard on a student budget, especially as grocery prices go up. But Hack argues it can be done with a little education.
You can eat well on a budget, and I think people just don't know how to.
Chicken, roasted vegetables, and a quinoa salad were on the menu this session. Both the food and the class received positive reviews.
Those are so good. This is okay.
Emily Murray in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
So many people eating.
It's the final weekend of Dine Out Vancouver. Hundreds of restaurants in the Lower Mainland are offering fixed-price meals at $20, $30, or $40 a plate. You can find participating restaurants at dineoutvancouver.com.
A family business has started interactive game tours in cities along the West Coast. Chris Brentlinger-Grant has more.
Travel east on Georgia to make your way to the location pictured here.
Max and Jasmine look like tourists, following directions and using their phones to get around Vancouver. But they live in North Van. They're downtown on a scavenger hunt.
I've lived here my whole life, but Jasmine's still new to the city. She's only been here a year and a half, and we wanted to take a step-by-step tour, see what someone else might show us. The Vancouver Public Library has 315 arches.
Their directions are coming from online. You log into the site, and a series of puzzles lead you around a city. This adventure was designed by Christy Walker and her husband.
We came up with this idea of creating these scavenger hunt adventures in downtown locations, with the idea being that local people and visitors could use this as a way to explore the city and see really the big sites and the little hidden gems that we discovered.
Hunt took them across Metro Vancouver, starting at the art gallery downtown and even onto the SkyTrain. After they'd completed the 28 questions, they ended up here at the Olympic Torch.
Tough, skip it.
But the process isn't foolproof.
The answer was real? What?
Some of the questions were a little bit difficult, and the directions were maybe not the most clear. The word it wanted us to get wound up being just gibberish, and we had to use all of our hints.
Nope. Luckily, they give you the option to skip them if they're too hard, so you can always go see something else.
Though because of some technical problems the day took twice as long, this view was worth an entire day. Chris Brentlinger-Grant, Vancouver, BCIT Magazine.
For most people, a hobby is just that, something you do in your spare time. But one local man's passion has led to some international attention. Estefania Duran has more.
Most people juggle a hectic life in the city, and Quinn Spicker is no different. Except maybe for the fact that he literally juggles his way through life.
Whoa.
This passion began at age 12, and by the time he was 19, he was in the Guinness World Record book for juggling 13 minutes upside down.
When the blood was pooling in my head so badly that my eyes were just slits, like I could just see out of slits, but they were forcing themselves shut. And then finally, when they fully shut themselves, I juggled for another like 1 second, but I can't juggle upside down with my eyes closed, so I dropped.
He says practicing for that wasn't easy, and his mom wasn't too thrilled with the idea.
I was living with my parents, and she said that I wasn't allowed to practice when they weren't home because she was worried that I'd pass out upside down and then just stay upside down. A lot of parents would call and say, "Did you throw any crazy parties or something?" She said, "Have you been hanging upside down?"
He's tried anything from 3 pins, 5 pins, balls, and even glow-in-the-dark juggling. But for Spicker, there's no money in it. At 24, he makes a living as a freelance web developer, so these days he tours around BC for fun.
I do sometimes just for fun, I'll do a show for free that someone asked me to do, whereas my friend who does it as his living can't really do that because he can't be doing free gigs and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, I can just do it for fun.
He even taught a few BCIT students his moves.
Yeah, oh, I hit it. Yeah, yeah.
Spicker is not out to break any more records anytime soon. He just wants to challenge himself every day. Estefania Duran in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
February 8th is Chinese New Year. The 43rd Annual Chinese New Year Parade will take place in Chinatown on February 14th. 2016 is the year of the monkey. If you have any questions or comments regarding this program, please visit us online at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
That was this week's BCIT Magazine. I'm Rana, Sowdaey.
And I'm Emily Murray. Thanks for watching. We leave you now with the Olympic Cauldron at Canada Place.